What's up? This is Carlo with 4GQ TV, and recently we had the opportunity to interview some of the team behind Dreamscaper, which is out now in early access. PK and I had a chance to sit down and talk to them. Please like and subscribe and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Start in the Dreams. The Dreams are the more action roguelike elements. Have you played many roguelikes in the past?
Yes, I have.
Cool. Are you familiar with Binding of Isaac or Hades?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Cool. So then a lot of this is just going to be familiar to you. Dreamscaper is kind of a mashup of all of our favorite influences. We've been working on it for the last 3 years. So just to give you a rundown of what we're seeing right now. This is the first stream that you come into. In terms of mechanics, you have a primary attack, an alternate attack that'll set the enemies in a juggle state. You have a dodge, you can block and parry, and you have a ranged attack. Final thing about tools at your disposal, on the top left-hand corner, you can see that there's some icons up there. Those are your lucid attacks. You start with one, and you will collect more as you go. But those are on a cooldown, so they can be used quite frequently. So I'm just going to go ahead and start running around. And if you have questions, if I'm chatting too much and there's something that you want to know, just jump in and fire away.
I already like the music to the game. I think it's great. It adds kind of like a mystic kind of feel, and the details that you have on already, just like the houses, and you can see like the the wooden planks on them. It's really cool, all that detail that you put into this.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of love went into the art on Paul's side. He did an amazing job of coming up with this fully realized dream world. It feels a little bit ethereal and a little airy, and he kind of just nailed that aesthetic. And then for the music, Dale North, who has done the soundtrack for Wizard of Legend, he came onto the project really early on, and he just absolutely killed it. So I'm glad that you're enjoying the music. So as I'm going around here, I'm running into some combat rooms now, but this follows kind of a Binding of Isaac-esque, Zelda kind of dungeon crawling thing, where you're going from room to room. And some rooms, like this one I'm going to run into here, they have different types of events, different types of things you'll see, so you're not just constantly inundated with combat. This room is a puzzle room. There's a couple different puzzles you can find in Dreamscaper. They are optional. You don't have to do them if you're not a puzzle person. But if you are, they help break up the combat a bit and test a different mental muscle, and they give you a reward if you complete them.
That is really cool. I like that idea. Speaking of puzzles, PK's Dion, as he's known, is huge into that, and he just came in now.
There we go.
Hey, Dion.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I apologize for that.
No worries.
Oh, what happened there?
Not a problem. I was just I'm showing the first level of the Dreamscape. I had asked Carlo earlier if he was into roguelikes and had played any action roguelikes. Do you have experience with roguelikes?
Yes.
Cool, because you'll find a lot of overlap and similarities between our title and Binding of Isaac and Hades. You'll see some similarities in mechanics or combat, and of course, roguelikes, they all share a very similar structure to them. So I'm glad you guys have checked those out, because that gives us a nice shorthand here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right now, the level that I'm exploring, this first level is a representation of Cassidy's hometown. This is kind of her subconscious sorting this out in the dream space. She has recently moved from a small rural city like this, town, not a city, and to a larger city called Red Haven. So you pick up in the game right when she's moved, and you start to sort through her story by interacting with the people in Red Haven, forming relationships by finding memories as you explore these dreams, and by picking up context clues from bosses and enemies and the environment. So right now I ran into another choice room. So this time I have a finger gun already. This guy. I'm going to go with this lucid attack. So I have 2 possible lucid attacks on cooldown. This one summons a dragon from overhead to burn enemies. So there's a pretty wide variety of abilities that Cassidy has. And that's because we want to make sure, since it's a roguelike and you're going to be playing it over and over, we want to make sure that every time you approach it, you're approaching the game differently. The core mechanics are the same, but you are approaching the game differently dependent upon the dodge you have, the shield you have, the melee or ranged weapons you have. You can really strategize in each run and build an interesting set of character equipment for yourself.
Wow, this is amazing. The detail alone, I'm just falling in love with all the artwork as you're going through.
Yeah, the artwork feels like a painted picture that you're walking through, like a dream state, kind of.
I'm our artist Paul, so I think you might have missed introductions, Dion, but I handle design. Rob handles engineering. He's on the call as well. And our artist Paul, he's going to be very glad that you said that, because he spent a lot of time making it feel painterly. He had some inspirations from some paintings that had more of a kind of like ethereal quality to them and more of a dreamlike quality to them. So he drew on that to give that, as you can see in the back, there's that kind of like brush stroke effect to everything that really does help it make it feel like it's a dream.
It's also easy on the eyes, so you can kind of tell what's going on too. I know some games is a little difficult because of the art style to be able to determine what's going on the map and where you're supposed to go and things like that.
Yeah, well, we had spent a lot of time. I'm glad you said that. We had spent a lot of time kind of finessing that to make sure that things are readable. Yeah, because it's the worst, right? If you're playing, it's like I have no idea what's happening on the screen.
Right.
So okay, cool. I'm at the boss room right now. I'm gonna start this up. So each boss has a little kind of intro sequence. We are taking some inspiration from Zelda, back like Ocarina of Time. There's this nice moment that you get, that reveal of the enemy you're about to face.
Oh, okay. And you got a little puzzle on how to fight the boss too. It seems like.
Yes. Sorry, I spoiled that for you. But the other bosses will have similar kind of mechanics. There's a wide variety of mechanics, but they'll have similar types of concepts behind them, where you got to figure out the boss's weak point and the way that you approach the fight.
Very inspired by like Zelda 64.
Right.
Ocarina of Time.
Those are the best boss fights, by the way. You got to figure out how to engage the boss rather than just it being a big hitbox. That's awesome.
So for my own ego, I'm going to tell you that I'm purposely going to take a bunch of damage here, just so that I can get to the Waking World portion of the game. We can see a little bit of that. But so with this boss, you can see that the down here, its name is Fear. Each boss is there's 6 levels and 6 bosses. Each boss is a representation of one of Cassie's emotions, something that she's grappling with at the time. So here, this enemy, Fear, is her fear of moving away from her friends and family, her fear of coming to a new place and starting a different life. So that is represented by this Leviathan that's kind of lurking below the surface. Cool. All right. So lost that fight, but results in Cassidy waking up. So you can see here on the progress page, 6 other biomes. It's traditional kind of roguelike format where you will go linearly through the levels, like you'll continue your run until you lose. And once you lose, you come back out to the Waking World. This is Red Haven. This is where Cassidy has just moved to. And this is the more narratively focused, it focuses on upgrading the character as well. So let's take a look. This is the town of Red Haven, all the locations that you have access to. For the demo, we cut ahead a little bit. This stuff gets gradually unlocked, but just so that you guys could see the core experience, we have all this stuff unlocked at the moment. Over here, I'm going to start with the park.
say this. It looks so pretty.
Thank you.
Uh,
So okay, let's. There's a couple options I have here, but I want to start with meditation. So those in the bottom right hand corner, those are resources that you can find in your dreams that then you carry over into the waking world. Things like inspiration and resolve. For instance, Cassie uses resolve here in order to work on herself. Focused, develop a healthier mindset, take on some of these nightmares. So they'll do things like increase your damage against bosses or increase your parry window. Give specific damage resistances. There's a ton of different things, and some of them have specific, they have levels to them. So as you play over and over again, and you unlock more of these, it'll help you get further in your dreams because these are all permanent upgrades.
oh, nice.
So yeah, there's a whole permanent upgrading system, and we'll look at some of that in a second. While we're here, I want to talk with Tamal. I'm going to chit chat with him, and when chit chatting, this reveals a interest that the character has. So now that I know that Tamal is into cooking, I can go back to the apartment. And Cassidy is an artist. That's what she's passionate about. So I can come over here and craft something for Tamal. I only have 11 of the 46 recipes unlocked at the moment, so I don't know if there's actually anything in here that's cooking related, but I'm going to grab something else in the meantime. Those little question marks indicate the amount of people that you'll meet that will like that specific gift. So as you match interests with people, these will get uncovered, and then you can give them gifts that they really love. Okay, so coming back to Tamal, I'll give him this photo. Cool, that was one of his favorites. So what that does is it increases my relationship level with him. Tamal and I have deepened our connection. You'll see a vignette. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip past this. But after you finish the vignette, you unlock an influence. So each character has their own corresponding influence. And if I pull up my dream journal and the loadout screen where you can set your starting equipment for a run, you can also set your influences. So as you get to know characters, your influences from them will grow stronger and allow you to better deal with the nightmares in the dreams. So for instance, Tamal, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so it helps you prepare for your next run, depending on the engagement.
Yes, although this stuff is permanent. So for instance, once you get to a certain level, like right now, I'm always going to have fire damage plus 2% with Tamal, even if I talk to somebody else and I don't talk to him in my next cycle. So over time, that will just deepen. And then in between levels, you can also swap these. So if you're seeing that you are picking up a lot of fire-related items, you might, after you beat a level, say, okay, I'm going to take Tamal's influence into the next level because then I'll buff my fire synergies.
I love the mechanics that you put into this, because it seems like there's a lot of in-depth mechanics that I haven't seen in as many other games. I really love the character interaction, building up the relationship so far that you showed. That's a really cool idea, and also I think it's really cool how there's like the real world and then her dream world, and it's so unique what you guys have done with this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's a lot of time that went into just figuring out that part of it. Like, how do these two things connect? How do they work? How do they not feel like completely separate pieces? But the dream fiction has allowed us to do some really cool stuff. Like, you can have the action part of it that's a little more fantastical because it's happening in her head, and then you can come back and have a little bit more of a grounded story. So right now I'm taking a look at this daydream menu. We've unlocked some things for the sake of the demo, but the idea here is that things like the puzzle room, challenge rooms, merchant rooms, and enchantment rooms, they get unlocked over time. So as you play the game longer, the floors that you explore get more and more varied and more interesting, and it also will give you more rewards so that you're able to get further into your dreams.
How long have
I really like that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I like the permanent upgrades that you guys do. That means you feel like you're progressing as you are going between both worlds. I feel like that's exciting. Actually, it makes you feel like you need to put in some time and work into relationships in both worlds and moving through engaging in the dream world.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a game changer, right? Because if you're just going through the dream cycle and you don't see that character progress, it doesn't. It loses something. So once we added that in, a lot of these pieces started to fall into place. Carlo, I didn't want to cut you off. Was there something you wanted to ask?
I'll adjust on that.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, how long have you guys been in development, and if also if you guys have any release windows in mind yet?
Yeah, so we released in early access in August of last year. We have been in development for almost 3 years now. So we're coming up on our 1.0 release of the game. That's going to be happening on August 12th, and it's going to be a simultaneous launch on PC and Switch, which we're really, really excited about. This will be our first title as on Switch, on a Nintendo console, which means a lot to us. Cool. So to explain what's going on here, I think I picked up an idea, but I didn't really mention it in the last run. But Cassidy will find ideas in the dream, and then she can come back to her sketchbook and sketch those ideas out. And when you do that, you will unlock those items to find in your subsequent dreams. So there's stuff that's all over the place, like this lightning strike or this power cord, this trident. This one summers a meteor, and there's like a fishing pole down here. I think I'll unlock that guy. So this is kind of your progression for your items. So you also, not just with permanent character progression, you have permanent item progression. So your runs become more varied over time. Okay, that pretty much wraps it up for the waking world. But before I kind of close things down for the demo, I want to show you guys a higher level of difficulty, just so you can kind of get the breadth of challenge in Dreamscaper. So one thing you can do, we saw this menu very briefly before, as you get further into the game, these will unlock and allow you to take on higher challenges for your runs, which gives you more resources and can unlock cosmetics. This is similar to the heat system in Hades, if you guys have played that.
Yes.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to jump to the 5th level. This is the second to last level. And I'm going to... The demo will drop me in with a bunch of gear that is spec'd up to this specific level. So you'll see some new stuff, and hopefully I don't get my ass beat immediately. So yeah, guys, if there's anything that you'd like us to talk about, happy to go into detail if you have any other questions.
Yeah. I don't know if Carlo asked, but I was just wondering what inspired you guys to for this particular story, and of course what inspired this art direction. This is crazy, man. It looks amazing.
Yeah, we have not actually discussed that yet. So the inspiration for the game, I think in a lot of ways this game is a reaction to where Rob, Paul, and I had worked previously. We worked at a company where we met in San Francisco back in 2015, and the company was an investment-backed game company. So the approach to making games was very different, and the goals of the company were very different. So when we came out of that and we formed Afterburner, we wanted to do something that felt personal to us, tell a more mature story, but also take inspiration from some of our favorites and things that we grew up with. So that's where we wanted to do a roguelike, because we really love roguelikes. We love the space. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And then the dream fiction and art style, all of that came out of trying to tie a roguelike into a narrative that had more personal meaning for us. So you can see I'm parrying away projectiles.
Mm-hmm.
There's a parry system for attacks and projectiles that's pretty strong, but it's also more of a high skill maneuver.
Do you guys feel like after the release, you guys will continue to work on extra content for this game going forward?
We have a 1.1 patch planned. So we haven't, since we're still focused on getting the release out, we haven't thought too much about exactly what's going to go in it. But most likely we'll be doing some content, some sort of new items or enemies, something of that nature, and definitely quality of life fixes and bug fixes as that rolls along. So I would expect a 1.1 patch maybe a month or two after our release,
Or 2 or 3 months.
or 2 or 3 months after our release, after we took a break.
Of course.
There's something I want to say that you guys may not even have realized that you kind of like hit upon. So I recently wrote an article for Wired on how narcolepsy affects me playing games, and in this game right here, this reminds me almost like of narcoleptic dreams and like sleep paralysis. And you guys may not even have realized it, but this is going to speak volumes to a lot of people with narcolepsy, and I think they're going to be able to relate to this game very well.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I think that a lot of the inspiration for the art came from Paul trying to capture that feeling of falling asleep, right? And trying to marry that with something that, like Dion had mentioned, was legible and readable and worked with the gameplay. So I'm really glad that we were able to have a more accessible game, and also have a game that represents more people, because that was something that was important to us too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely has that feel, which is awesome, and I really can't wait to share this after E3 with a lot of my friends in the industry that also have narcolepsy, because they're going to relate to this game so well.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys actually, you both should. If you don't have enough keys, let us know. But you both should have from Freedom. I think they sent over the code for the game, so you should be able to play the game, and not just the demo, but the final build of the game. So when you're accessing the game, by default you'll be in the early access branch. But if you haven't done it before, you can right click on the game in Steam and switch the branch version to be final beta, and final beta will give you access to the 1.0 version of the game.
Yeah. I gotta say, guys, you guys did a really great job here. Not just the art style, but the colors also pop, and it does catches. It invokes an emotion when you play the game, is how I can describe it.
I'm really happy to hear you. Let's hear that. Thank you, because that's a huge part of what this is. Like, there's direct storytelling, but then there's also that emotional feeling, the atmosphere that you can give to players, and that was something we focused a lot on through Dale Norris' really amazing music, through Paul's art. People have been calling this, our community has lovingly called it a relaxing roguelike, which seems kind of counterintuitive in some ways. But I think that all comes from what you're talking about, where it creates this atmosphere, and that couples with the roguelike nature in kind of an interesting way.
Right.
So I'm going to see if I can make it to the boss of this level before we have to wrap. But yeah, we're coming to the end. Thank you guys for taking the time to chat with us.